Hello students, this is the fourth part of the story, The Blue Bead. In the first video, we were introduced to the crocodile, description, circumstances surrounding its birth, and a brief introduction to Sibia. In the second video, we had the description of Sibia, her poverty, her visit to the market, and her desire to make a necklace. In the third video, we see Sibia along with the other woman going to collect paper grass. Then they pass a Gujar encampment. We had the description of their way of life and their jewelry. And the women go and collect paper grass. And on their return journey, they have to cross the river once again. They hop on they cross the river by skipping along the stepping stones, but Sibia had lagged behind purposely to look at the cups that she had molded out of clay. So all the other women had crossed the shore, but she was the only one staying behind. Then she started to cross the river when she was too tired, so she stopped midway and rested on a big boulder. Let us find out what happens next. At the same moment, a Gujar woman came down with two gadas to the water on the other side. In order to get the good clear water, which would quickly fill both gadas to the top without sand, she walked onto the stepping stone. So while she was resting in the middle of the river, in the middle of the river, what did she see at the shore where she had to reach? At that moment, a Gujar woman had come down to fetch water. She had brought two brass pots. We already have seen that. In order to get good clear water, what did she do? She wanted to come to the stepping stones where she will get clear water. She walked onto the stepping stones. She was within a yard of the crocodile when he lunged at her. Please remember, the crocodile was near the stepping stone in between timber logs. We had seen this in the first page. Why hadn't he attacked them earlier? Because there were too many people and they were making so much of noise, and noise frightens crocodiles. Now she has come alone. That's why he was waiting for such a moment. We already have seen earlier that how he waits for food to come to him. So the moment he saw her coming alone, he lunged at her. He leapt at her. Up out of the darkling water heaved the great reptile, water slushing off him, his livid jaws yawning and all his teeth flashing as he slashed at her leg. So please see how nicely the author has described how he comes out of the water, from the dark water. He lifted himself, this great reptile, which is twice the length of a tall man. He lifted himself, heaved himself out of the water, and water sprinkled of you, splashing off him. His livid jaws, angry jaws, opened, and all his teeth, one could see all the teeth flashing as he slashed at her, as he tried to grab her, from holding her leg. So what happened? The woman screamed, dropped both brass pots with a clatter on the boulder. Imagine the plight of the woman. She's shocked. She knows that she is attacked by a crocodile. So what does she do? Naturally, she screams out of pain as well as to alert others. If somebody can come and help her, she screamed. And in that pain, what happened? She dropped the brass pots and they fell with a clatter, the metal sound against the boulder, from whence they bounced to the water. Whence is an old-fashioned usage, archaic usage, children, which means whence. From whence they bounced to the water. The moment it fell, the brass pots fell from her, they hit the boulder, stepping stones, and then they bounced into the water. And Sibia saw them bob away in the current. The brass pots fell into the water, bobbing away, going up and down in the stream, because it is flowing with the current of the water. It seemed going up and down. And what is the first thought of Sibia when she sees the brass pots being taken away by the river. Oh, the two good vessels gone. Please remember, she is very poor. For her, these are things which are very expensive, which they cannot afford. So she is worried about that. The first thing that strikes her mind, oh, two brass pots. See, we come to know how poor they are. For them, these are very expensive things. They cannot buy it. If she can't buy a needle, if she has to wait for a needle for one more year, imagine what they can do without brass pots. If they, for how many years they have to wait for to buy another brass pot. The good woman recoiled from the crocodile, but his jaws closed on her leg at the same moment as she slipped and fell on the bone-breaking stone and clutched one of the timber logs to save herself. So what would anyone do when attacked by a crocodile or anything? Everyone will try to save themselves. So naturally, the good woman recoiled from the crocodile. She flinched in fear. She drew back in fear from the crocodile, but he is too powerful for her. She is a puny woman in front of the crocodile, but his jaws closed on her. He is having a firm grip on her leg at the same moment. So what happened at that time? She slipped and fell where? On those bone breaking stone. Please remember the stones. If she falls, definitely a bone will break. She fell on those bone breaking stone and clutched one of the timber logs to save herself. In the first page, we had seen how timber flowed in this river, and sometimes they got caught between stones. So luckily she caught one of the timber logs to save herself. The log jammed between two boulders, with the woman clinging to it and screaming while the crocodile pulled on her leg, threshing his mighty tail, bang bang, to and fro in great smacking flails, as he tried to drag her free and carry her off down into the deeps of the pool. Blood spread everywhere. So what happened now? The Gujjar woman, she's trying to free herself. She is fighting a very brave fight. She is putting on a fight against the crocodile, but he's too powerful for her. And what does the crocodile do? It is trying to pull her free from the timber. She's lucky that the logs are jammed between two boulders, and she's clinging to her dear life and screaming while the crocodile was pulling her leg, threshing his might tail. What is threshing, children? So he's thrashing her, striking at her repeatedly, very briskly, and bang, bang. What do you mean by bang, children? Bang here refers to onomatopoeia. The figure of speech here used is bang, bang. Figure of speech here used is onomatopoeia. What is onomatopoeia? Onomatopoeia is the process of creating a word that phonetically imitates, resembles, or suggests the sound that it describes. Example: the lion roars, birds chirp, bees buzz, snakes hiss, and here bang bang, the sound produced when the crocodile hit her. And also alliteration, BB, repetition of consonant sound, BB. And what did it do? It was hitting to and fro from one direction once, in another direction, again smacking flails. So it is hitting her very briskly and hitting her repeatedly as he tried to drag her free and carry her off down into the deeps of the pool. So it is also trying to pull her into the middle of the pool. Blood spread everywhere because she is bleeding. The woman has started to bleed, so the water has become bloody. So what did Sibia do at that moment? Sibia sprang. From boulder to boulder, she came leaping like a rock goat. Sometimes it had seemed difficult to cross these stones, especially the big gap in the middle where the river coursed through like a bulge of glass. But now she came on wings, choosing her footing in midair without even thinking about it. And in one moment, she was beside the shrieking woman. Sibia saw what the situation was, that the woman was in great danger. She didn't wait for a moment. She just sprang into action. She jumped into action. What did she do? She's on the stepping stones. Remember, she was resting. From boulder to boulder, she came leaping like a rock goat. Please remember, figure of speech. She's compared to a rock goat for what? For its sure-footedness. Rock goats are known to climb mountainous region, flat regions, to reach the top because of their sure-footedness. In the same way, here she is jumping from boulder to boulder, leaping, but she has such sure foot. She knows where to step. Sometimes it seemed difficult to cross these stones. Why? Especially in the big gap in the middle where the water coursed through like a bulge of glass. Sometimes there were rocks on which the water flowed where it looked like a bulge of glass. She didn't know whether there was a rock below the bulge of glass. She didn't know, but now she came on wings. It was as if she had suddenly got wing, as if she was a bird. Birds can see from far off, from a very high position, so she could see from that. Just like a bird can see, she was choosing her footing in mid-air while she is jumping itself from stone to stone. In mid-air only she is deciding where to step. So without even thinking, because she knows where to step, without even thinking, without making any mistake, she was jumping, choosing her footing in mid-air, and in one moment she was beside the shrieking woman. The shrieking woman, who is that? The Gujar woman who has been attacked by the crocodile. I hope you can see the stepping stones here. See, this is where, okay, she is jumping from boulder to boulder. Sometimes there was a gap like this, but she knew where to put her feet next. In the next moment, these are mountain goats children. So what did she do next? In the boiling bloody water, the face of the crocodile, fastened round her leg, was tugging to and fro and smiling. In that boiling bloody water, the water is foaming because it is flowing at a fast pace. It looks as if it's boiling. So in the boiling bloody water, because the woman is bleeding, the face of the crocodile, fastened round her leg, was tugging to and fro and smiling. It was as if the crocodile knew any moment that it would be victorious, that the woman had to give up, and it had a firm grip. It had held on to her leg and it was trying to pull her, tug her to and fro. And next, what happened? His eyes rolled on to Sibia. He saw Sibia there. And what did he think? See, he can think like human beings. One slap of the tail could kill her. We already know that this great crocodile was propelled by the unimaginable and irresistible power of the huge tail. It knows the power of its tail and it thinks that one slap from its tail and the girl would be dead. So what did he do? He struck. He hit her, but it missed. And what happened? Instead, it hit the water. That mighty tail hit the water, and what happened as a result? Up shot the water 20 feet and fell like a silver chain. See the language, children, again. See the image of the water rising up 20 feet and falling like a silver chain. So it had missed. So what did the crocodile do? Again it struck. Again it missed. And instead, what did it hit? The rock jumped under the blow. So it is such a mighty blow. If Sibia had been caught, she would have been dead in an instant. Instead, it hit a rock that jumped under the blow. How mighty the crocodile is, you should know from this. But in the daily heroism of the jungle, as common as a thorn tree, Sibia did not hesitate. See, children, we city children, what we would have done, I don't know if you're in such a situation. But she did not hesitate because she is a child of the jungle. She has been born and brought up there. And just as the thorn trees are common in the jungle, this daily heroism is also as common as thorn trees in the jungle. She did not hesitate. For the daily survival, these people face dangers daily basis, so they know how to protect themselves. What did she do? She aimed at the reptile's eyes. We would not have known where to attack. If we were in such a situation, I would think we would have taken stones and tried to hit the crocodile. But we already know that the crocodile had an inch thick armored hide. Even the bullets would not pierce its skin, it would bounce off. Being a child of the jungle, she knew the weak spot of the reptile. So what did she do? She aimed at the reptile's eyes. She knew the weak spot of the crocodile. She aimed at the reptile's eyes. With all the force of her little body, she drove the hay fork at the eyes, and one prong went in, right in, while its spears crashed past on the horny cheek. Let us see here, children. So here, what did she do? She took her hair fork. See the picture of the hair fork, children. She aimed it. Please remember, she's just 12 years and she's malnourished also. But what did she do? She did not give up. With all the force of her little body, she drove the hair fork at the eye. She aimed it and pierced the crocodile with the hay fork. And how good her aim is, please remember, because the middle prong, I hope you can see the picture there, one prong right in, which one? The middle one right in, while the pair, the other two, scratched past, touched the horny cheek. What is the horny cheek here? Because the hide or the skin of the crocodile is not even, it is uneven. That's why it is called as horny cheek. So it was bull's eye for her. She had successfully hit the weakest spot of the reptile with a hay fork, its eyes. So what was the result of that? What became of the crocodile? Now let us find out. The crocodile rose up in convulsion till half his lizard body was out of the water, the tail and nose nearly meeting over his stony back. Then he crashed back, exploding the water, and in an uproar of bloody foam, he disappeared. So when he was hit so strongly that to his eyes, the crocodile, please remember, it's a huge animal here, twice the length of a tall man. It rose up in pain, in convulsion, in violent movements, involuntary contraction or series of contractions of the muscles. So it rose up in the water till half his lizard body was out of the river. First half the body came, the tail. Then what happened? The tail and the nose, then the whole body is out of the water. The tail and nose nearly meeting over his stony back. It has come out of the water. It is in such a position that it is in a U shape with the tail and nose almost meeting over his stony back, because the skin of it's almost like stone. Then he crashed back. See, it is so heavy. When it fell back into the water, it exploded the water. It splashed with, it went down in such a splash, exploding the water. In an uproar of bloody foam, he disappeared. Please remember, this is the water here, foam. Then what happened? It is bloody because the woman had been bleeding, the Gujar woman. Then he disappeared. He would die. Not yet, but presently, though his death would not be known for days. He would die a slow death. And his death would also be not known for many days. When will the people know? When it starts floating in the river filled with gas. And then when will the body be found? Then perhaps he would be found upside down among the logs at the timber boom with pus in his eyes. What do you mean by boom, children? Timber boom, a chain or line of connected floating timbers extended across a river, lake or harbor as to obstruct passage or catch floating objects. So finally one day he would be found caught between the timber boom. What we have to appreciate here is Sibia's presence of mind. She knew how to attack. She knew which was the weak spot of the crocodile. She aimed at it, and she has got such a good aim, and in one attempt she was able to do it. And then what did she do? Sibia got her arms round the fainting woman and somehow dragged her from the water. So this fainting woman, all her body weight is on Sibia, but somehow Sibia dragged to pull her from the water. What did she do then? First aid. She has not gone to any school, no nursing training, nothing, but she knows what to do at that point. She stopped her wounds with sand, yes, and bound them with rags so that she doesn't bleed to death. With some rags she got there and helped her home to the Gujar encampment where the men made a litter to carry her to someone for treatment. So by this time, the men had come back to the earlier, they had gone back. Earlier, when we see, when they passed the Gujar encampment, the men were not to be seen, but now they had returned. So what did they do? These men suddenly made a litter. What is a litter? It is as a stretcher for carrying a sick or injured person. Can you see this here, children? So then what did Sibia do then? Then Sibia went back for her grass and sickle and fork. Please remember, she had stopped midway while returning, while crossing the river. She had stopped with the where she had kept her bag of paper grass on the boulder. So she went back for them. The fork was lying in the river, not carried away, luckily. The fork, the same hay fork with which she had aimed at the crocodile, thank God, it had not gone away with the crocodile, and it had not been swept away by the river. Luckily, it had not been carried away. And as she bent to pick it up out of the water, she saw the blue bead. Where had we seen this blue bead earlier? Yes, when the crocodile was resting near the shore in between the timber logs, next to him was the blue bead. Yes, she saw the blue bead. Not blue now, with the sun nearly gone, but a no color white blue, and its shape wobbling in the movement of the stream. She searched, she reached her arm down into the yard of the cold silk water to get it, missing it first of all because of refraction. She was so happy. Now it's not blue now, the bead, because now because in the sunset it looked like a no color white blue, and its shape was wobbling in the movement of water, moving with an unsteady side to side motion. So what did she do? She had dreamt of this. She wanted a bead with a hole in it. Okay, she reached her arm down into a yard of the cold silk water to get it. She just dashed for it, missing it first of all. In the first attempt, she missed it because of refraction. What is refraction, children? You might have learned in physics. Deflection from a straight path undergone by a light ray in passing obliquely from one medium into another. Example, from air to glass or air to water, in which its velocity is different. Then there it lay in her wet palm, perfect, even pierced, ready for use, with the sunset shuffled about inside it like gold dust. All her heart went up in flames of joy. Then what she wanted for, what she had hoped to get, okay, she had thought she had to wait until next year. What happened? There in her palm lay the most perfect, or the perfect bead, already pierced, ready for use, and with the sunset shuffled about inside it like gold dust. All her heart went up in flames of joy. See, she enjoyed this. She is not asking for gold, silver, platinum. She finds pleasure in such small things. After a bit, she twisted it into the top of her skirt against her tummy, so she would know if it burst through the poor cloth and fell. So what did she do? She didn't have a purse with her. How to carry that bead then? So she put it, she twisted it in the top of her skirt against her tummy so that it wouldn't fall, and if it fell, she would come to know. Then she picked up her fork and sickle and the heavy grass and set off home. What a day for her. So what do you think, in what sense she meant what a day? For her, what a day meant where she found the blue bead. Her feet smudged out the wriggle mark of snakes in the dust. There was the there was the thin singing of malaria mosquitoes among the trees now, and this track was much used at night by a morose old Makna elephant, the tuskless one. But Sibia was not thinking any of them. The stars came out, she noticed. So now she is on the return journey. She is home now. She has to walk back to her house. So it is a dusty path. We already know there were already snakes had been moving, so she could see there were wriggle marks in her path, but she smudged them while walking. It is such a dangerous path. She's a 12-year-old girl and she's not afraid. And there was one could hear the singing of the malaria mosquitoes. And then this path was actually dangerous because it was also used by an unhappy Makna elephant. What do you mean by Makna elephant? The tuskless bull-like elephants reputed for being more dangerous and cunning than tuskers. Let me show the picture here. The stars came out. She noticed it's such, see, jungle night, so one can see stars. So it is night now. On the way back, she met her mother, out of breath, come to look for her and scolding. Her mother had not noticed that her daughter had not returned with her, and she had come in search of her. I did not see till I was home that you were not there. I thought something must have happened to you, because the women, while crossing the river, they were crossing the stepping stones one behind the other. The mother had crossed the river first. She thought that the daughter would come later, but she never thought she had not returned at all. She was so scared that she was coming in search of her. She was worried that something had happened to her. And Sibia, bursting with her story, cried, something did. I found a blue bead for my necklace. Look. What an ending, children. Can you imagine? What is this? The last sentence of the story is an example of dramatic irony. On the way back home, when Sibya meets her mother, as readers, we expect her to describe her fight with the crocodile. Instead, she mentions only the blue bead that she found. Yes, what we would have done, we would have described our fight, all these things. But the battle that she fought with the crocodile to save the Gujjar woman is sidelined by Sibya, because this daily heroism is part of the jungle life. What is of worth in her poverty-stricken life is the glittering bead. A blue bead was one of the unattainable wonders for her that she managed to attain at the end. Thus, it was only natural for her to rejoice at having discovered the glittering bead. Hence, Sibya says to her mother in ecstasy, I found a blue bead for my necklace. That's why the story's title is The Blue Bead. Now let us come to the themes of this story, children. What are the various themes of this? See, this is the regal mark, children. So what are the themes? Where there is a well, there is a way. The struggle for survival and poverty. Let me briefly read about this. The Blue Bead is a story that depicts the extraordinary power of human will. If we are determined to achieve something, we can always find a way. Sibya, hardly 12 years of age, sees a Gujjar woman being attacked by a ferocious crocodile. She jumps from rock to rock as if she had wings. The smiling crocodile has his eyes rolled round onto Sibya, and one slap of the tail could kill her. But she is determined, and with all the force of her little body, drives the hair fork into the reptile's eyes. Rather than giving up in order to reach back home, she overcomes the crocodile and helps the woman to go back home to the Gujjar encampment. Her willpower and determination to save the woman's life makes her victorious over the dangerous crocodile. The second theme, the struggle for survival. Life is a struggle where we face new challenges every day. For the people residing in the vicinity of the forest, life is full of hardships. The Blue Bead is a story about a girl, Sibya, her family, and people struggling for survival in a hostile environment. Besides, lives of the people in Gujjar encampments are continuously threatened by the wild animals. The mud houses lack even the basic amenities. The roads are not proper. The people use sticks and dung as fuel for fire. Sibya belongs to such a poor family that she has never owned anything but a rag. She is thin, undernourished child who divides her chapati to make it seem more. The woman of the villages, the women of the villages have to climb the cliffs to get paper grass to sell in the market. They have to carry a great load back home. Since there are no bridges to cross the rivers, the women need to jump from stone to stone and have to shout or make noise to frighten the crocodiles. People like the Gujjar woman in the story come to the rivers to fetch water for daily needs, and hence their lives are always at risk from wild animals. Nevertheless, even the serious health hazards, lack of basic facilities, and other hurdles fail to subdue the invincible human spirit. The third theme is poverty. Poverty is one of the important themes of the story. It is depicted through the life of Sibia. She lives in a mud house in a noisy village. She is introduced as a thin, starveling child dressed in an earth-colored rag. She is 12 years old, but she has accepted the fact that she is born to toil. To make her chapati seem more, she divides it. She stands amazed before the sweetmeat stall, but cannot have them. Satin sewn with silver thread clothes with looking glass embroidery seem wonderful to her eyes, but she has to go to collect paper from the cliffs along with her mother to provide for her daily needs. She imagines how nice it would be to hear the rattling swish of beads necklace round her neck, but she has to wait till her family could afford another needle to drill the seeds. The last scene of the story, the last sentence of the story is highly touching as Sibia exclaims to her mother she has found a blue bead for her necklace. The battle that she fought with the crocodile to save the Gujar woman is sidelined by Sibia because this daily heroism is part of the jungle life. What is of worth in her poverty-stricken life is the glittering blue bead. Children, we are lucky to have such wonderful parents who look after our every needs, that we don't have to face so many hardships in our life.